Hello, I'm Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the new Brit workshop. Not long ago, I went to see the Festool Roadshow when they were hosted by Miles Machinery and Tools in Yeovil. Whilst I was there, I saw Phil Beckley from Festool demonstrating the HK 85 carpentry saw. Now, I had to cut out large chunks of that demonstration in order to put together the Festool Roadshow video as an entity in its own right. I've had a lot of interest from various people saying, oh, they wish they had seen a bit more of the saw. And so I contacted Phil and he said it would be okay for me to release the complete unedited video of his demonstration that day. So here is the Festool HK 85. Over to you, Mr. Beckley.
He's got DeWalt, so I can't do it with DeWalt in the background. Okay, I'm Phil from Festool, and this is the Festool Roadshow. Okay, and so the other advantage of the Festool Roadshow is that it gives us a chance to showcase the new products. And of course, this is the HK 85, and this is the pendulum cover saw that we've just released. And the big advantage of this is that we can use thick section timber with a deep cut blade, and it means we have a lot of power with the HK 85 to cut through. And working with a parallel fence, which comes with the machine, is a really simple and easy way to work. And so working with a machine like the HK 85 with a 2,300 watt motor, you have enough power to cut through anything, including green oak. Of course, you've always got to be safe while you're working, and with the HK 85, our riving knife is positioned just on the back of the pendulum cover. So as soon as you cut the material, the riving knife is doing exactly what it needs to do and to keep the timber from nipping up onto the back of the blade. So working with a parallel side fence is great, but if we want a really straight, accurate cut, and this is where the FS guide rail comes into play. Festool are known for working with this system. Why? Because the straight cut means that we can then cut across at 90 degrees, and it means we can cut timber accurately and cleanly. And of course, having the advantage of using a large saw on a guide rail system such as this one means that we can achieve the straight cut immediately. So we can position the guide rail where we need it. As soon as I slide the HK 85 onto the guide rail, the pendulum cover can come back. So working with the FS is a really simple and straightforward way. But what about if you can connect the HK 85 to an FSK rail? And this now means that we can use the HK 85 to cut across at 90 degrees, and we can cut timber to length very simply. Have a permanent stop underneath and a stop here, which means that we can then set this to any angle. On the back of the HK 85, we can set our depth of cut. The green comes to the grey. So if I need a cut at 40 millimeters, we can just set that into position. I can put the saw onto the material, permanent stop goes onto the timber, and of course the other stop comes up, and now I have a 90-degree cut. And if we want to cut an angle, just loosen off the small screw, and we can bring this down to say 15 degrees. Back onto the timber, up onto the angle stop, and then we can cut angles very accurately with this guide rail system. And of course the advantage is everything works as a unit. So as a pendulum cover saw, the HK 85 works really well. But the HK 85 has a really neat trick up its sleeve. And we can convert the HK 85 to cut rebates, grooves, and trenches in timber with the grooving block. So HK 85 and of course the grooving block that we can fit onto the machine. We need to make a couple of changes, and the first stage is to release the blade. Move the fast fix lever forward. This is going to lock the spindle into position, and then the blade can be taken off. And the big advantage of using a machine such as a circular saw for cutting a groove is that we have a huge amount of power with the HK85, and with 3,300 RPM, it means we have the correct sort of speed for working very efficiently as well. So we can take the blade away, put this to one side. We take out the small collar that's in here, and we need to do a couple of things. The first stage is to fit the guarding, and with the guarding we work with the small guard first. There's two slots here, left and right hand side. This goes down into position, and then within the kit that the grooving block comes, everything is supplied, including a small Torx key that we can fit this on. And of course, working with guarding on the machine is absolutely vital to make sure that we're safe while working. So that's the bottom guard into position, and there now the top guard can go on to these two slots here. There's two small screws, and then we can just bring this into position, and the guarding can be fitted really quickly. And so now the guard's in position, the next stage is to look at the block. The block comes in two halves. If we take this top section away, we then have a series of washers, and with these washers we can then move the two halves of the block away from each other to create a groove. And there's two studs in here. So the maximum width that we can cut with this block is at 25 millimeters. So if that's a groove that we'll cut, we can then put the correct amount of washers onto the centre of this spindle. Just push those down into position, and we can put that one on as well. These washers, you have them in 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 2 and 3 millimeter. So any combination of sizes for grooves are available to be produced. The two halves can only go together in one way, and then we can squeeze this down into position. So now this block is made for a groove at 25 millimeters in width. The minimum width is 16. The maximum depth of cut when using this grooving block is at 35 millimeters. So now that's been set correctly. We can pull the pendulum cover back, and there's two flats on each side of the spindle, and then on the underside of the block we have the same profile. Take the block, put it onto the machine, and then we can drop this into position. And then the Allen key that we use for taking the blade off can then be used to tighten this up. Now we can put the Allen key back into the fast fix handle, and then that's closed up. So now the block is fitted onto the machine. We have 25 millimeter groove to cut, but this presents a slight problem possibly with the depth of cut. The blade is 230 millimeters that's normally used, and so this means that now we've got a smaller diameter block on the HK85. You would think that we have to then work out our depth of cut, but with Festool it's really simple. On here is a conversion chart, a blade and a groove. If I want a groove at say 20 millimeters, I'll look down here, and across here it says 70. So all I need to do, bring the green to the grey, set this depth of cut to 70 millimeters, and now when you pull the pendulum cover back, the block will be at 20 millimeters below the base of the saw. And the big advantage of this is that we have to work with a guide rail. Using it freehand is maybe not the best idea. So the next stage is to plug the power supply in, and then we can work with the FS guide rail to start with. So now we've set the machine up, we can work with the FS guide rail. And the first application we can show is cutting a rebate alongside of a piece of timber. And of course the big advantage of working like this is that I can work in one area. I don't have to keep on going to a static machine and then back to taking my timber to a static machine and then back to where I'm working. So we can mark out where the groove is going to go, or a rebate is going to go. We can slide the saw onto the rail, pendulum cover will come back, and here we can fit our 36 millimeter dust extraction hose. Our depth is set, so now we can make our cut. So creating a rebate is a very simple and easy process, and there's a big advantage of working with a machine like this rather than the router or even the spindle moulder. So the next stage is we can start to cut a groove along the centre of a piece of timber as well. And the big benefit of working within this system is that we can make a straight cut, we can make a straight rebate, or we can make the groove straight in exactly the right position as well. So rebates, grooves, really simple with the HK85 and the FS guide rail system. But the big advantage with working with the HK85 is, of course, we can work with the FSK rail as well. So now we can even make trenches across the material that we're working with, and I can ensure they're at exactly 90 degrees because of the guide rail system. And because we have two pre-cut knives on the block, it means that the two edges of a cut are also perfect while we're working. So we can bring this down to say 15 degrees, and now we can make an angled groove as well. Good application could be for staircase work with this type of rail, and also the HK85. So, FSK rail, FS rail, a pendulum cover saw that you can convert to working with a rebate block, and this is the advantage of coming to see something like the Festool Roadshow, because you have immediate access to these types of new products and also the applications they can be used for.
Now that was the HK85. There are two other saws in the new Carpentry Saw range, the HK55, there's one behind me here, and also the HKC55, which is the battery operated version of this saw. I'm going to be making a video about those in the not too distant future. Meanwhile, thank you very much for watching, take care, bye bye.
Go on, mate.
Ja, you first.
No, you first.
No, you.
You go first.
Willkommen zu... Sorry.
No, German, not
Yeah,
English.
that's the problem.
Not Dutch either, German.
Willkommen zur Festool Roadshow
Welcome to Festool Roadshow.
2015.
That was in German, I can't do that in German.
Come on.
Welcome to the Festool Roadshow.
Willkommen zur Festool Roadshow.
How much is it?